This is yoga. Is the process of how to disengage from the mind that works in the dimension of time through all the old memories is its source for thinking. Just relax. Don't distract yourself. So you want to remove your attention that is always engaged by the mind into some external disturbances or external attractions. So the mind goes into attractions and repulsions. So if it is internal, there is no attraction or repulsion. Meditation, right? So you want to withdraw from outside to inside. So for that, you need to practice connection to prana. See, most people, they do concentration, which is also okay. That is by concentrating on some candle or some object, which is okay. But this is the real object, prana. So when you connect to the prana, how do you connect to prana? What is the connection of ego-mind? It is going outward first, that's the first thing. And it is choosing, I like happiness, I'm afraid of unhappiness. I like success, I'm afraid of failure. I like to be loved by people, I'm afraid of people will not like me. That is all the mind is doing externally. And that means internally you have already pre-programmed conflicts, but you are seeking solution outside by finding somebody who loves you, who is attracted to you, or any ego-based desires outside. So this is the whole yoga practice is on pratyahara, how to a turnaround technique. Every time your attention goes out, how do you bring it inward? That's what pranayama helps you to connect to prana in your body. So prana in your body is connecting to all the annamaya kosha senses. So you are connecting to subconscious, actually. So then Bapuji explains that there are two forces, two yogas. One is connecting the Gnana yoga. Gnana means how do I know what is out there through five senses. Karma yoga, how do I interact with the outer world? There are hands and feet and five organs of action. So these are, when you withdraw, where do you go? You go straight to the five organs of perception and five organs of action, physical action. And then, how do you go? When you go to prana, prana illumines both five perception senses and five karma action, five organs of action, basically. So, why prana so important? That's what I'm explaining. Prana animates both karma activity of the physical activity as well as sensual activity. So, if you anchor into prana, both are taken care of. Now you are removing visual, auditory, all five disturbances and all the five organs of action. So you are moving into the subconscious, which doesn't act but is acting independent of our personal will. So that's what you're actually entering into subconscious, that is pratyahara. Pratyahara takes you from self-conscious ego mind that is dominating prana and that is dominating your perception action and active action, both. So when you withdraw from it, you are, where do you drop? You drop into subconscious. And subconscious is a direct perception of what is as is. But you are doing it from waking state. And then, as you move further, concentration and meditation comes automatically. Otherwise, you cannot go into once you know this anatomy, in your daily life, you can just see that when you are angry, fearful, frustrated, what happens? The perception is coming from the memories of the past, triggered by who or what is present. But as soon as you have reaction, you go in your past in the mind. Problem is how to come out of it. That's the whole practice in everyday life. Wherever you go, if you have a reactive perception, how to come back to responsive interaction, which happens in subconscious. In subconscious, sympathetic and parasympathetic are in co-creation, in responsive interaction. Like I am presence is delivering the evolutionary, life-giving impulses, and parasympathetic is turning into life-giving functions. So now, if you give if you identify I am my thoughts and emotions, then the parasympathetic will carry out whatever is present. So if you are present with what is present, your body will enter into co-creative subconscious interaction. If you are reacting to what is present and believing I am my reaction, I am my fear, I am my attachment, automatically your body will function into turn the conscious energy of consciousness, presence, into unconscious karma. So that is all karma. So how to be free from it is to witness these feelings that come up. From thinking you come down to the feeling through pranayama. And through witness, you just watch your feeling. So if you want to resolve your karma, anytime you are ever triggered by any form of reaction that anywhere, anyone, or any situation is triggering in you, it's in you. One who triggered is they didn't cause it. Cause lives in you. So this technique will allow you to remove the cause, but most people, they think one who triggered it caused it. That is the misperception. So there is nothing, so if you have nothing, no more karma left in your past, you are enlightened, then somebody can insult you, but it won't get to you, because the part of you that was insulted in the past, memories are gone. You're not touched. So one time, Buddha was giving talks and some guy got upset with him. He spit on him. So he says, do you have anything else to say? He didn't take it because the receiver was cleared. Do you understand? So as you become more and more clear by using people who trigger you, situations that trigger your perception, and you get angry and say you caused it, that is the ignorance. Ignorance is what? Ignorance is whatever way we process our experiences, experiences of reality through the medium of reaction, caused it unconsciousness. And that is why it is called karma. You missed the target. You didn't, you misperceive the reality, right? So what is that? When you miss the target, that's exactly the description of karma, and that is the exact description of sin. Sin is sin. So how to remove that? That's a whole practice of yoga in daily life. So if you practice on yoga, just like I guided you, you can practice in every experience. I use it all the time because every time I'm frustrated with somebody, I am frustrated, obviously. But I don't keep it going. And I don't assign to this person who triggers my cause. No, cause lives in me. Thank you for being triggered. So everybody who triggers your anger, fear, or anything is your friend, not an enemy, right? So this is the most important lesson that we have built into the practice of I am yoga, so people really learn how to practice yoga. So in yoga, when you are performing yoga postures, when you see edge in your body, when you face somewhere your body is resisting, you are stiff, you have pain, you are uncomfortable, then most people do not know how to practice yoga. That edge becomes the battleground between the ego mind and the body. But that is considered to be the only way to practice. That's how sport is practiced. If you come to an edge, fight with it, go beyond it, it's the victory of the ego, not of yoga. Do you understand the difference? That is why the purpose of how to convert this edge into, so if you practice as a physical discipline, like the sports are practiced for exercise or physical discipline, the edgy ego will fight with it, but it is fighting with the edge which is its own creation. So ego has facility to remove the effects of the cause it is, but it cannot remove the main cause, which is the nuisance to begin with. So that is why in this yoga, you have to go beyond the ego mind. That is why if you want to remove the cause, you have to go to meditation. That's why when I started yoga after my awakening, the yoga I called Kripalu Yoga, meditation in motion. That's what Patanjali says. So the purpose is to remove the cause, right? And you cannot remove the cause because ego mind that caused it can fight with it and remove it, but ego mind that is the cause cannot remove itself. That's why you have to go to witness, and now I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my good thoughts or bad thoughts. I'm not my good reaction or bad reaction. I witness it. So you practice in your yoga mat through what we call the posture of consciousness. So whenever you face edge is so you can call it the symptoms that appear on the surface of the body. But edgy ego lives in unconscious. So if you fight, your unconscious will be fighting it as if it is its enemy, but it is its own creation. So edgy ego mind is the problem in this practice. Do you understand? In yoga, that's the only problem. And so if you learn how to remain witness to your edgy reaction that happens whenever the edge appears outside. So in life, the edge that lives in the reactive perceiver appears outside in external relationship. And edgy ego that lives with the edge, called reactive perception, that is already pre-programmed, it practices with everywhere. So ego will not let go of its control over you because it lives on your life energy. So the ego mind, if you do not get constantly upset, finding some excuse, it does not get the new life of parasympathetic energy for it to survive. Did you hear that? That is its survival level function. So it functions with a lot of fear for its survival. Survival is a very big fear. So you withdraw from that, and that's very difficult. But if you practice all the time, you become liberated from your unconscious ego mind. And that is the main purpose of practicing yoga, is what is in your way, only one thing, your ego mind that is already pre-programmed by your karmic past, that's only one that is a problem. That is why the guru, enlightened guru, Meher Baba, he said man minus mind equals God. That's simple. That's the ultimate formula. MC square. E is equal to MC square. And this applies everywhere. In all levels of practice we call spiritual. That's why Patanjali said, yoga means witnessing the modifications of the mind. He said the same thing in different words. So, if you have any suffering, any conflict in any relationship, witness your thoughts rather than invite the blame or shame. Do you understand? This is very central to the practice of I Am Yoga. And then you practice I Am Yoga, you practice on a yoga mat, and you practice in your very close, loving relationship, because that's where it comes up more than anywhere else. So, because whenever you try to get to the love outside, and where you missed it going inside in the past, you will always miss it outside, because unless you work out that which keeps you from love that God is inside, you cannot find it outside. So people make it so, their whole life is dedicated to how am I perceived by the world. That's all ego wants. That's it. That's everything that ego does for. Otherwise, why would you do it? Why would you want to be a billionaire? Why would you want to be a topmost known in any field and in his high skills and high performer? Put him on the island where there is nobody and say, I'll give you $10 billion, do what you want to do. What would he do? Nobody to see. That's why ego does everything outside that can be demonstrated to the other. Look who I am. Inside, when you go, you can demonstrate nothing. Nobody is interested. So nobody wants to be enlightened. I mean, why? Only when you find out, I am making my life so miserable, I want to go there. That's the only reason. But then you have to be so fed up with people trying to show the people, and it's not working. Only your fears are working, your manipulation is working, but it is destroying your peace, your harmony, your love. You are moving further away from it. So I think our time is up. Do you have a few minutes to questions? Or? No?
Malika is shaking her head.
Where is Malika?
Gurudev, can I add one thing on here to just draw in our
please.
The sutras? Oops, this I won't draw.
Draw
on that's all right. You have to picture this. So yesterday we got into the 3rd chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and we were winding up our teachings, which were just what you said. And he clarified that there are 3 parts of yoga, in essence. And the first part is restraint and practice, and that restraint and practice requires a sense of doing, it requires a sense of will, it requires a sense of having a focused attention, learning how to train the attention to stay in one place. All yoga practices are designed to bring us into the state of the present moment, to experience the present moment fully just as it is. Now, there's a variety of yoga practices, but every one is designed to bring us into the state of the present so that we experience the present moment just as it is. And as you so beautifully were describing in the realm of practice, prana and pranayama is the king. It draws all the koshas together, and it is really you know, an incredible practice, and really any of the practices without it aren't really a practice. So that's the practice part, the first part. Those practices then bring us to the second part, which is that's where the stuff comes up. If you do the practice to become present, what happens is this stuff comes up that shows you what's not, what's keeping you from being present. So that's the second part, which is to allow what comes up to process. And that requires, again, a strong witness consciousness, which comes from the practice, and a strong ability to have an unconditional perception to allow what comes up come up. The third part then is the balanced state, which is the deep meditation that you're talking about, which is then now you're in a non-doing state where you're experiencing yourself in presence without doing. Then he says, basically, again, this is a cycle, because once you would reach the non-doing state, you want to, of course, prolong being in the balanced state as much as possible, a state of meditation, but we can't live in that, so you come back to practice, because even if you're in a balanced state, practicing from a balanced state is a really fabulous thing to do. Pranayama from a balanced state is a very lovely thing to do. And it brings up subtler and subtler stuff to feel, and longer prolonged states of the balanced state. So this process continues. At the beginning of the chapter, I think this is so beautifully, he says, there are three components of what you need. And at the end, he describes it like what I just said, restraint, the dissolution then of what comes up during the restraint, so practice, the dissolving of what comes up during the practice, and then third, the balanced state. And so you sort of rotate around in those. But at the beginning, he says that you need the last three niyamas. Tapas. So tapas is, again, the grist for the mill. It's the practice. You need self-study, swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is when the stuff comes up from the tapas, you need to have that willingness to really look at yourself, to really be interested in the way your awareness, you know, who you are and who you're being, and what your karmic patterns are. And thirdly, and last and most of all, is great devotion to the cosmic, to the Lord, to the infinite isness. And again, then, when you're seated in the balanced state and connected to God, of course, choose a tapas. And for me, Gurudev, I'm so inspired by you, inspired by Babaji, who, again, very high states of consciousness, and he never stopped his practice. You know, balanced state, yes, and then constant practice, which brought up subtler and subtler states of this cycle and prolonged balanced
So what I hear you say is like what Patanjali says and what you taught yesterday, I explain how to build it into the exact your entire life.
Yes.
Yes. That is life transforming.
Yes.
Yes. So this has taken I have put my entire life and my study, research, practice, teaching, everything I have done is to explore this dimension, how to bring it into palpable experience of the divine that is perceived to be speculative, imaginary, beliefs-oriented. This is direct. You can sense the presence in your body. I mean, how much more do you want? You can really see that you got it every time, and you lost it every time you lose it. And then Krishna says equilibrium is yoga. So you don't lose your balance whether you succeed or fail, so that you can continue. But if you fail, you cripple yourself and then you don't walk, then you again stop practicing yoga. Right? So it is self-acceptance along the way. So that is why your journey begins now. And whichever way you are. So your journey begins from completion to completion to completion to completion. Not perfection and reaching to the perfection and perfection. It is from being total, 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 all along the way. And then you get better from being scattered to being total every moment. Every moment. See, I told you about my energy field that was measured. So if you are being reactive, you shrink the energy field that you have. So ego mind, when it divides the energy is shrunk. And if you unify and be in a co-creative interaction with people, places, and things, and yourself, your energy field expands. Why? Because co-creation is subconscious, where that is the presence. Sympathetic nervous system is the presence. And when you identify with yourself with ego mind, that means you are against the presence by being against what is present outside. When you are for or against, you are for or against the presence inside of yourself. There is no separation. What is present, if you interact in a co-creative, harmonious way, your inner harmony comes right back. If you are in conflict with who or what is present here and now, all of a sudden, what is presence is in conflict, ego mind, with the Shakti. That's it. These are very central teachings. I have been trying to write it, modify it, improve it, so I catch subtler and subtler parts of it. So you can really do it. It empowers you to do it rather than believe in it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Mm-hmm. You don't have to believe in God to practice yoga. You are really knowing that God is, I am God. And then, if you just say that, it is not enough. But every time you react to somebody or something or to yourself, you replace it with complete self-acceptance. And all of a sudden, you are back to I am. And that has to be practiced all the time. How many months? How many years? How many hours? No. All the time.
How many lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have time for the next?
No, I think we're not
So we're going to start with the back row.